Each December, as holiday lights twinkle in windows and snow blankets the ground, a centuries-old tradition lurks quietly in the shadows. For most, this season is a time of joyful gatherings and heartwarming tales. But once, it was also the season of ghosts. Imagine a Victorian family seated around a fire on a cold, dark Christmas Eve, ready to shiver not only from the winter chill, but from the tales they'd passed down about haunted houses, wandering spirits, and ghostly apparitions. This practice of telling ghost stories at Christmas time seems out of place in today's holiday celebrations. In America, ghosts are associated with Halloween, that autumnal night of pumpkins and costumes. However, in the late 19th century, particularly in Victorian England, Christmas ghost stories were a staple as much as plum pudding and holly. This seemingly odd mix of festive cheer and eerie tales has its roots that stretch back through English history and folklore, connecting the holiday season to the supernatural in ways most of us have now forgotten. The Victorian era, with its love for literature, theatrics, and fascination with the supernatural, embraced the Christmas ghost story as part of the season's celebrations. At the heart of this tradition is none other than Charles Dickens, the literary master who penned A Christmas Carol, one of the most famous ghost stories of all time. Published in 1843, the novella tells the tale of Ebenezer Scrooge, a miserly old man who finds redemption through a harrowing Christmas Eve encounter with three spirits. Dickens wasn't alone in intertwining the festive with the frightening. His Christmas publications, particularly the holiday issues of Household Words and All the Year Round, regularly featured tales that drew readers into the unknown ghostly realm. In his story, The Seven Poor Travelers, he described Christmas Eve as the witching time for storytelling, a sentiment that resonated deeply with Victorian readers. But this tradition, Dickens' ghostly masterpiece included, did not arise from nowhere. The association of the supernatural with winter nights is far older, rooted in folklore, oral storytelling, and the seasonal observance of the winter solstice. For centuries, as long, dark nights crept over English towns, people would gather close to fireplaces and share stories. During the depths of winter, the boundary between the living and the dead was said to be at its thinnest, making it a time ripe for ghostly encounters and supernatural experiences. For the Victorians, there was something else at play beyond seasonal chills and folklore, the very real anxieties of a rapidly changing world. The Industrial Revolution had transformed life in Britain. Cities grew rapidly and people left rural communities for factory jobs. The world had become faster and more mechanized, and for many, it was a time of social and economic uncertainty. Ghost stories offered Victorians a way to address these anxieties, to explore their fears through a safe, fictional medium, explains folklorist Brittany Warman. Victorian writers, including Elizabeth Gaskell and Arthur Conan Doyle, found an eager audience for their tales of haunted houses and specters. These stories became a bridge between the familiar comfort of home and the strange, unknown aspects of the world. The commercialization of publishing also played a role. Steam-powered printing presses made books and magazines widely available, and with literacy on the rise, more people than ever could read. Editors needed to fill pages and satisfy a hungry readership. As Tara Moore, an assistant professor of English, notes, ghost stories became the perfect holiday filler. They could sell well in both inexpensive pamphlets and lavish Christmas annuals, reaching readers across the economic spectrum. Though ghost stories remained popular at Christmas in Britain, the tradition didn't fully take root in the United States. A Christmas Carol was an immediate success across the Atlantic, yet Americans' appetite for ghostly tales at Christmas quickly faded. One reason lies in America's complex relationship with the supernatural. The Puritans had frowned upon any association with superstition, and even as Christmas traditions were rekindled in the 19th century, ghost stories never truly became a staple. According to Warman, America's resistance to the supernatural may have stemmed from a desire to leave behind the superstitions and beliefs of the old world. In America, the supernatural was often seen as something to be left behind in favor of a secular mindset, she explains. Instead, the supernatural became firmly established as part of Halloween, thanks in large part to the waves of Irish and Scottish immigrants who brought their own customs of Samhain and All Souls' Day to the US. By the early 20th century, Halloween had become America's haunted holiday, and ghosts were rarely mentioned in connection to Christmas. But while the telling of ghost stories gradually waned, the tradition never completely disappeared. In some homes, a handful of families still gather around the holidays to share tales of the eerie and supernatural. Florence Kingsland's 1904 Book of Indoor and Outdoor Games even suggests that Christmas is an ideal time for ghostly storytelling, reminding readers, the realm of spirits was always thought to be nearer to that of mortals on Christmas than at any other time. Recently, the tradition has seen a resurgence. In the spirit of Victorian England, modern writers and creators are finding ways to bring ghostly tales back into the Christmas season. Television adaptations, literary anthologies, and holiday events now cater to those seeking a blend of festive warmth and spine-tingling scares. For those drawn to the darker sides of the holiday season, this tradition offers a counterpoint to the often commercialized cheer of the season. For writer William Dean Howells, who reflected on Dickens' stories in an 1886 Harper's editorial, these Christmas ghost stories served a deeper purpose. Beyond simply spooking readers, Dickens' tales often conveyed moral lessons. Howells wrote of Dickens' work, "It was well once a year to remind men by parable of the old, simple truths, to teach them that forgiveness and charity and the endeavor for life better and purer than each has lived are the principles upon which alone the world holds together and gets forward." For Howells, the Christmas ghost story was a vehicle not only for chills, but for reflection, offering lessons in forgiveness, empathy, and community. Today, the tradition of Christmas ghost stories reminds us of a time when life was darker, colder, and perhaps a bit scarier. At Oxford Castle and Prison, where centuries of history have steeped the walls in stories of hauntings and unexplained sounds, the cold stone corridors stand as a testament to how deeply Christmas and the supernatural were once intertwined. Sites like these, steeped in both history and legend, evoke a spirit of the Victorian ghost story and the thrill that it brought to the Christmas season. For families looking to rekindle this eerie tradition, the holiday season offers the perfect excuse. As the nights lengthen, there's something inviting about gathering by a fire or a cozy room and spinning tales that stir the imagination. Whether it's a classic like A Christmas Carol or a new tale of strange happenings, a ghost story at Christmas brings a little thrill to the holiday, a reminder that this season too has its shadows. The enduring appeal of Christmas ghost stories speaks to something timeless in human nature, a desire to understand the unknown, to face our fears, and to find warmth in the face of darkness. So this holiday season, as you sit by the fire, consider resurrecting the Victorian tradition of the Christmas ghost story. Gather your loved ones, dim the lights, and let the spirits of Christmas past, present, and yet to come guide you into the mystery and magic of this forgotten holiday custom.